do a mic check. Okay, I'm not pulling mic flat now, so it's just a mic check here. So good afternoon. So you are in the session where we're going to talk about talent acquisition in the Progress OpenEdge world. So it is a fact that most of us, if not everybody, is challenged to find new developers who's capable, competent, to join our community there as well. And as a matter of fact, the Accord, which is a financial services messaging standard authority, also recognized the challenge that's faced in the States also with the shortfall in terms of programming skills worldwide. So this session, and if you sort of just make sure in the right room, as we're going to deal with here is how we as MIP have managed to approach this problem, and how we sort of managed to get to a place where you have more than 500 full-time Progress developers in our employment. So my name is Jaco. Apparently in Czech it means thank you. My surname is Purchase, so you can refer to me as Thank You Purchase to be locally here. And I'm going to talk you through this, where we're going to share just where South Africa for those who don't know. Who is MIP and what have we been done? We're going to talk about how do we approach and engage our people, and how do we get them to be interested in Progress OpenEdge. How do we identify them? How do we sort of filter them, and how do we employ them and then coach them to become productive? We're also going to talk a little bit about as a case study here, to say what is it that we've done, what do we think we can do better, and then also general questions and answers. So you're more than welcome to engage or to reach out during the session as well. So with me also I've got Richard. Everybody knows Richard, who's our CEO. I've got Bridget, who's our HR director, so she's going to keep me honest and also be able to answer some questions there, and Fergus, who's our CTO as well. So we've got a full set to be able to answer questions there. Okay, so to start off with is where South Africa. So just a little marketing thing here. I hope you can hear it.
Hi, I'm Trevor Noah, and I'm South African. And because I'm South African, people from all over the world insist on asking me questions about South Africa. So I decided to make an ad to answer some of those fascinating questions. Like, how cold and snowy is your Christmas? Well, Tracy, unfortunately, we can't afford snow. No, I'm just playing. We're in the Southern Hemisphere, which means when it's freezing in Connecticut, it's fantastic in Cape Town. Klaus sent me this one. Can you play golf in South Africa? Well, Klaus, we actually have some of the finest golf courses in the world, judging by your 37 handicap. Can you play golf? How many stars are your 5-star hotels? Ryan wants to know, can I meet the lions? Oh, I don't know if you want to meet them, but you can see them on safari. And get this, it's not just lions, Ryan. We've got everything. There's elephants, there's rhinos, there's giraffes, there's buffaloes, there's leopards. Come on, man, expand your horizons. Ostriches. Is South Africa fun? Is it fun? Are you even watching this commercial, Michelle? Paragliding, bungee jumping, surfing, river rafting, shark cage diving, hot air balloons, hiking, cycling, wine tasting, whatever this guy's doing. Does that not look like fun to you, Michelle? Does that not look like fun? So, now that I've shown you South Africa, my only question is, what are you coming to experience it for yourself?
So this is my portion, instead of paying taxes, to promote South Africa. So this is one way of doing this. So just on who MIP is. So MIP is a proudly South African company, and I'm not marketing here. I just want to give you the background of who MIP is, so that you can understand what the challenges are that we were faced to attract these people. So we got currently on our systems, and we running across different verticals in the financial sector, which is a highly regulated environment. So which also then imposes certain responsibilities on us to have qualified, competent people who's vetted, to meet those standards and work in those sectors as well. So we work in healthcare, risk and funding, individual risk and insurance, group risk, wealth management, which is mostly related to the whole administration of deceased estates, wills and trusts, and all of those funds, benefits and annuities. We've got lending systems running. And then these sections below, which also added to a little bit of our complexity, is we got a strong research and innovation
capability that's developed software that's used by all these verticals, which also require quite strong technical people. A very specific type of person who's not necessarily engaged directly with the customers. These are the guys that sit in the dark rooms long hours. We got our process engineers in continuous improvement, and then also the data, and then our international outsourced development department. That also requires a specific skill because they don't work on our own systems, they work on our client systems. So having said this, with our more than 600 strong people complement that we have, we're looking after 24 million beneficiaries in South Africa. Again, proving to you that we need those 400 or 500 developers to be able to support our business. From a socio-economic contribution, also relevant to talent acquisition to make sure that we address the regulatory environments and the whole diversity, equity and inclusiveness. We sort of right up there. And we're also quite proud of having achieved a 35% female representation, which is something that I see some t-shirts here also somewhere that we got females in Progress OpenEdge environment there as well. So it's a big company. And our challenge in South Africa, unfortunately, is given our nature of being still a developing country. So I don't think we're first world, we're not third world, we're somewhere in between in terms of how we develop and how we sort of grow in socioeconomically. But unemployment is a big factor in South Africa. So you can see there some of these stats, 32%, 1 in 3 people unemployed in South Africa. People desperate for jobs, losing hope there as well. And at the same time, whilst we have this high unemployment, we're also sitting with skill shortages. So which is a little bit of a contradiction because we got so many people, but we can't do anything with them at this stage. And at the same time, we also got quite a strong regulatory environment. So that BBEE is broad-based black economic empowerment, sort of to try and rectify and address the situation to make sure that we look after the whole of South Africa and we get that sort of unemployment down and we achieve with those skills. So our whole, where our internship and our talent acquisition program started, is where we recognized the need for skilled Progress OpenEdge developers to support our business. So we couldn't find people. Progress skills, as anywhere else, are scarce. And we don't necessarily want to poach from different companies in South Africa. And we decided then, we recognized that we had to make a plan to rectify this. At the same time also, as we feel and we can see and we understand the impact what the lack of skills have on this sort of high employment. So even though you got people, they can't do the job. So we had to find a way to empower, train and get them to a level that works for us. And then importantly also is that I think as a company, MIP accepted the role that what we can sort of play in South Africa to transform these workplaces, uplift, skill that as well. And this is both from a moral, social, and a regulatory perspective. And a lot of our clients encourage that. So we get selected, approved that level 1 that we were there. That means something in terms of our companies and our clients also where we are. The one thing that I didn't mention early on as well is we also is a part of an organization that is conscious leadership and conscious companies. Is where we endorse planet, profit, purpose, and people. Or we get measured based on those 4 key attributes. And from a purpose, this speaks to our purpose. From a people skills, also it speaks to that there. As well, and then profit is to understand our business. The planet side is where we support just some initiatives in South Africa. And Richard, you can maybe talk about it later on if there's some questions on that. So this is where it started. We recognized this. And our first class was held in 2008. So that's 16 years already ago. So we've matured, we've evolved, and we continuously running this whole thing. So what do? Our whole journey that we have is sort of based around this sort of high-level process. So first we need to create awareness of MIP, of the need for these skills to try and identify the right people. Then we sort of identify talent. And I'm going to show you and take you through that process now, how it works and how many applications, what is it that we do. Once we have the talent, then we have to identify the people. And by saying that is we're looking for specific attributes, specific skills that we can work with and that we want to sort of engage with in our company. Then we sort of learn, we train and we develop these people through a specific program, and I'll share that content with you as well. Once they're through that whole internship, how do we absorb them into our company? How do we keep them? And how do we sort of make sure that they fulfill and they are adding value on this as well? And then that also speaks to the whole management and how do we retain those people. So we're gonna talk through these processes for now. So feel free to ask questions. So over the course of our internship, we've trained more than 517 Progress OpenEdge developers over the years. So that's quite a lot. I think that's double the size of everybody who's attending this conference this year, maybe close to it, that we've trained, that we use. So which is quite a number of people that sort of went through this. And it's starting to make a difference. So what we have to create awareness. Initially, we spent a lot of time because we wanted people to know about MIP. We wanted to position it to say, hey, there's a company that offers this opportunity in IT, in financial sector, but we require you to become a Progress developer. So we aligned quite a bit with our major universities, some of the computer sciences departments, to put up advertisements, participated in job fairs, and went out to sort of say, there's an opportunity for you. So at least people would know about us. What we've also seen is given the high unemployment rate, recruitment agents are quite plenty, and I think economically active in South Africa to try and take people and then to say, hey, I've got a person who's qualified, let me think about MIP. And we sort of see, or have seen, that they are starting to push this into their networks as well. So when they receive CVs from people who are searching for jobs, they would know about MIP and they would forward it on to us as well, or forward them onto our websites and our processes that we can catch them. LinkedIn also works quite well, specifically also with the recruiters, where they again sort of just publicize this on their websites and stuff. So we're getting sort of now quite a nice spread. And what's interesting is over the last couple of years, word of mouth and internal references are becoming more and more valuable to us because somebody vouches for this person, but it's also becoming quite a good avenue for us. So people in a specific town or village or whatever would know, hey, I know somebody who went through this internship, let me attract them and let me point them into the right direction. And our whole idea is sort of to get them onto our website. So for now, previously, we had, and I hope you guys can see this. Previously, you would see this there was a little puzzle. It says here, if you're interested, solve this puzzle, and you can see there's like numbers and digits there as well, which is a little bit of a code that sort of people had to complete, and then they would send the email to us. Later on now, we sort of say, are you ready to start your internship journey with us? And then we start the challenge. So this is now our first sort of port of call where we say, cool, they know about us, they are interested, they're reaching our website or our system. So what we do then is and I'll show this to you now also, what it works on. So this is now where we share a little bit of the fantastic learning opportunity, then it's ready, and then we have a program. I think it consists of 25 puzzles that you have to complete online. And what it tests, it starts very basic. It demonstrates your thinking, your logical thinking, your pattern recognition, and also how your problem-solving skills and how you approach it. And I'll quickly show to you what it's all about, but you have to complete this online. So at this stage, all that we know is who you are, and we know that you're interested. We don't have a CV, we don't have any other qualification there as well. So we're not ready yet to sort of start thinking how do they fit into the team or whatever. It's just sort of to say what they can do. So I'm going to show you some screenshots, and then I'll show you what the program looks like. So you can see very basic thing here as well. So on the left, you got this little robot. And you have certain challenges that you sort of have to complete, and it gets progressively more difficult as you advance. And it teaches you small things, So initially it says, hey, remember you have to press start, then you have to switch on lights. So you can see on the left-hand side, so it's a bit small, but let me show it you now. But then it becomes a little bit more difficult. So the next one, it says, hey, this grown has gone deaf in 1 year. Can you still get to the end? So instead of turning 1 right, you have to turn 3 to the left. And it's starting to think, and these pattern recognition that's there as well. In the background, what happens then is we actually then record the number of steps, the number of attempts that you have, and we can start measuring based on this, are you capable of becoming a Progress OpenEdge developer? So this is the first screening mechanism here. So fully hands-off, fully automated there. So let me quickly try and show you let me just switch on to this as well. Okay, so let me just show. So last month, once you've completed these 25 levels, we get notified, say, here's a person who completed this challenge. And we received 12,000 entries in last month alone from throughout South Africa, where people, and this is now the time where graduates starting to think about what's happening next year when they finish their university, they're starting searching for jobs, and that's why sort of we have this peak. So it's more or less, this is maybe a little bit high, but sometimes it's just below 1,000 a month that we sort of get these people or these applicants who completed these challenges. So let me quickly show it to you that you can see just what it looks like. So let me just switch this. So and you guys are welcome to go and test this yourself if you want to. So what it also does, it recognizes me, that I've done this previously. So if I use a different PC and email address, obviously it's not going to know. But at least it sort of says, just to repeat there as well. So you can see this challenge now, what it says. And I can do it if I need to. So you can see this is now level 5, so still relatively basic. But it says Joan also able to climb over obstacles. So you can see it sort of learns its new function that sort of added there. So use jump to take one step up. Stepping down is easier. Just go forward as usual. Can you complete this map with just 7 commands? So the challenges, and I've actually completed this already. So just to make sure. But what we see is in some cases, people would tend to say, cool, let me move forward, jump, move forward, turn left, then move forward, jump, and then move forward. But there's a better way of doing it. You could actually move forward, jump, go all the way there, and just go down again. So then you eliminate one jump. And those are typically the thinking that we want to achieve. So how you execute it is you sort of, you go there, it runs it, you can see there it goes. And then it switches it on the end, and then it sort of say, cool, you can submit it, and then I submit the solution, and then it sort of goes on to the next one as well. So you can see, can fall multiple levels. I'm not even sure what that means, but you're going to have to figure it out now on the next level. That sort of comes up as well. And then you get these programs, and then later on, it starts adding certain functions, procedures, and stuff, sort of to mimic actually your programming style and the way that you would approach your work. So without knowing that you're applying or you're busy with this whole process, you are starting with testing your ability to problem solve, your thinking, logical thinking, and keeping track of what's needed throughout this. Let me just get back to this. Okay. So once you've finished with that, we then also check and say, are you sort of in terms of your specific age and nationality? We also see that international people use this to apply. Now, unfortunately, in terms of our legislation, different process if you want to employ multinationals. So we try and focus on our local people in South Africa to participate and then to fulfill this process further. So if you are, so that 12,000 that's there, and you meet this criteria, we invite you for an in-person test at our offices, either in Johannesburg or in Cape Town. So Cape Town there where Trevor Noah was, mostly there. So what we do in person, why do we need it? We need to verify that the person who's in front of us is their ID, is the person who's completing this test. As you would know, sometimes you get people who sell themselves or sort of to do the test, write the test on your behalf, also entrepreneurials. But we sort of make sure that we verify your identity. But we also then conduct, and we give you a test in a pressurized situation. So we have a time limit. You sit down, and it's only you. It's not somebody else helping you to complete this over the internet. You sit down and you have to write this test. And again, it tests, our logical thinking and pattern recognition. The tests are then immediately marked, and then feedback is given immediately. So I'm going to show this. I just want to make sure that we don't record this, otherwise Bridget is gonna be mad with me. Yes, sure. So age is below 35 for us for now. It's a I won't say arbitrary. It's just sort of we want to sort of invest in our people and then sort of get some longevity out of them there as well. So once in a while we find people who are older, but that's sort of like a special sort of dispensation if we sort of do take in some more older people at this stage.
Yeah, I think also, like you said, female, we specifically want to bring more females into the industry, so that one of those criteria will then be set, female, and then the system will automatically make sure we produce accept more females into the program. So it's actually done a huge benefit getting us to that 35%.
Okay, we are going to cut this. So from the video, so let me just show you what this challenge is about, and I'm hoping you guys can see this. So you guys all would know this breach challenge, which is the first one is sort of to get across, carry 2 people at a time there as well. But where it becomes now a little bit more difficult, not more difficult, is sort of you have to give the solution in a specific format. Is to say, Diane tells Andrew to cross, and then back, and then sort of how to move forward. So we're starting to write pseudo code. So you have a problem, and you have to start, documenting this in a specific way. So this is the easy one. And you got set the amount of time then to do this. You can see 15 minutes for this. Then it becomes a little more difficult. This Finding Nemo thing is sort of say, here's a whole set of rules and conditions, what we have. And then at the end of the day, again, there's a specific way of that we're asking it. Then you also have to start coding it. You have to start looking at sort of how to document this back to us. And this is now a little bit more difficult. So remember now, we don't know whether you can program, what your aptitude, what your skills are, but you sort of have this challenge, sitting in an environment, slightly stressed, and you have to sort of come through this thing as well. Then it becomes even more difficult. So then we got this matrix. And 2 hours to do this. And each location is an address, so you would know which cell it is, but then it becomes a little more difficult, is you sort of also contains instructions, is to say extended addresses. Extended address 006, you will find the values in this as well, and it's sort of, again, just becoming a little bit more technical, a little bit more difficult, and you need to demonstrate more logical thinking in this as well. So this is sort of how we give you all the rules and the stuff, and then we expect you to change this matrix in a specific way to do this. So this is becoming more and more challenging for our candidates that we receive, but it helps us to identify this talent and then to see whether the guys are how well they are doing. So if you were 80% of the people that we invite, so of that 1,200 people, 80% pitches up for this interview or this test. But then this test is about 2 out of 9 people complete 2 out of these 3 challenges. So and even less than that completes all 3. So you can already see that from the 1,200 that comes in, 80%. Then we get down to nearly 15, 16% or slightly more that completes these things. And we sort of look at the way that you're thinking and evaluate that then as well to see whether we need to proceed with you going further. But it is sort of filtering down quite a bit. So we're still screening at this stage. So what we then do is, if you manage to go through that previous process, we have a third-party assessment tool, which is a VSAP, which is a commercial application. It stands for Van Zyl Pritchard. And we require our candidates also then to complete this. So this is only held in Joburg. So one could argue and say, 5 hours in Joburg. If we sort of have people from all over South Africa, how do they get to Joburg? And how do we, where do they get 5 hours? But part of this also is for us to see how resilient are you, your problem solving, your attitude. Can you make this work, and challenges to get to this point there as well. So then you write this test, and you can see we test specific concepts there. Concentration. You guys would know the younger TikTok generation, concentration is a problem, so I'm going to be short today, so that you guys... perception, how do you reach requirements? Then, sort of a little bit more in terms of technical details, in terms of databases and then pointers and all of that there as well. And you need a specific, we work on an average of 70% that you need for this. If you get slightly lower, but you did well in 4 and 5, we may consider you then also. So there's a little bit of a intervention that's required there. We actually had one lady who failed this test spectacularly. So she got like 13% or something like that. And then she took it the next time, and she reached this criteria, and she was actually then top of our class later on. And the reason for that was that she wasn't good at maths. And if I say maths, she didn't like working in all these logical things, but she's a great programmer. So we do have a little bit of a intervention or override at this stage to look at the results and then see how do we, sort of make sure that we get the right persons coming in there as well. Okay, 15% people pass this VSAP test. So which is low. So you can already see how it filters down. But now we have you. Well, not yet. So now we say, okay, cool. We get your full CV. So once you've passed that, we invite you to submit your full CV to us. So now we know where you're coming from. We know what you've studied, your background is, and we take people who it's coming out of school. We take people who have degrees, diplomas, courses. We don't really mind at this stage because we know that you have the technical aptitude at this stage. And in these in-person interviews, and I think that's why Bridget is well, hopefully she's not grey, but sort of this takes a lot of her time, is where we test then actually 2 things in person. So first of all is the personality, so attitude. And we spoke about it last night. I think Fergus mentioned it, is that Alex Ferguson from Manchester United said that if you give him an athlete, he can make a footballer out of you. But don't give him a footballer who's not an athlete. So somebody who has skills but can't run, play, think, do that as well. So we're looking for attitude, because if you have the right attitude, we know you've got the technical underlying ability because you're here already. And then we try and test for that. We also look at your strengths, weaknesses, sort of what support structures do you have at home? Why are you there? How would you cope? Go through this thing as well. And who are you as a person outside work? What hobbies do you have? What do you do over weekends? Because for us, those are indications of how well balanced you can be and how well can you cope with the demands of being a Progress OpenEdge developer. Stuff that I know, scores high as people who are active in sports, still participate, still, sort of contribute in their society, all of that thing as well. We also have just a brief sort of technical discussion with those people where we again try and see pattern recognition, just make sure our people think, what logic do they apply, so that we can see whether they can fit into our environments there as well. All right, so after all these tests, all these discussions, we get a list to say these are our top candidates that we want to invite them to participate in our formal training and our internship there as well. But it varies now. How many people do we want? How many do we need? All of these processes that I've explained now is ongoing, continuously. So it's not for a specific class. It's sort of every month we do this and we get this list. And we run 3 or 4 classes a year, depending now on our timing. So because it's a 3-month course that we have. So based on our needs as a company, in terms of our projections and forecasts, we then determine the class sizes that we need. And so it's a little bit of a dark science, I think, because we sort of thinking 6 months in advance, what are we going to need, taking into consideration resignations, churn, whatever the case may be, projects coming in, projects being delivered, all of that there as well. So we try and sort of predict what's going to happen, and then we select the class size. Then we invite those people, we offer them a contract. And what is important is from that point on, we regard them as a full-time employee of MIP. So they got a specific contract, they get the same benefits, some leave, all of that as well. But we already then invite them into our company to be part of the culture and starting to learn also what's needed. All right, so now we have them. So now we have to learn and we have to teach them and we have to train them and then we have to develop them. So this internship class that we have is an in-person class facilitated by a senior Progress developer. That's his job, his passion and his calling. And it's running for 3 months. It's a 12-13 week, and I'll show you now the schedule that we have also for them. And it deals now with a couple of aspects. So the first one obviously is now Progress OpenEdge, the basics of Progress. Remember, we assume that they don't have, whilst they have the aptitude, they don't have any formal training. So we focus on the basic Progress development stuff. Then on our own framework, on our own sort of digital engagement platform, the tools that we use to develop our software that we support. We also communicate our standards, patterns, and sort of how do we engage. But then also importantly is we use this time also to introduce them to behaviors that we expect of our employees. So this is again attitude, resilience. How do you network? How do you know who to ask? Who's your sort of your team leader or whatever it's happening there? Timekeeping, what's expected, stand-ups, So we start sort of quite basic, but we try and make sure that we have this common engagement platform. Also, again, then is how do we do our source control, our Atlassian Jira, how do we integrate that into our tasks, our agile methodologies, reporting, all of those things we try and reinforce and expose them in this 3-month course. So what is important also of this course is at the end of it, they develop a system. It is a DVD system. So that's giving away our age. But it's a DVD management system. So it has some principles that's aligned to our business, and we try and expose it to them. But they're actually physically building an application at the end of this internship. And all the classes and all the lessons that we use is also then reinforced in this application. That's there. Also, continuous assessment takes place. There's quite a lot of practical cases and that you have to do lab work, so we have to code and submit your code, but also theory. How do you sort of do certain things, indexing, what's the differences between that. So we also do that as well. So, and what we try and do there is to try and balance the theory with the practical experience and case studies there as well. Because what we've seen, some people are very good at the theory, not so great at implementing it, and other people are really good cowboy coders, but not so great in terms of following standards and practices. Okay, so our largest class that we've taken in was 31, which is quite a lot for our facilitator, because some of it requires just a little bit more attention to make sure that the people are on the same size, so that's a bit big. I think our average is about 14, 15 per class. Bridget, maybe something more, eh? Yeah, thereabouts. So that's an ideal sort of take on. So what we also have is we have an office in Cape Town and in Joburg. So even though it's an in-person facilitated class, we have people from Cape Town attending, then virtually through Teams as well, which actually allows us to scale. But the first part is we get them into Joburg, in some cases, also just to expose them to each other, get the networking and understanding going there as well. But we still require the Cape Town people, even though they are online, to go to the office, again, to mingle, to feel the culture and the environment of the company as well, which is important for us. Okay, equal weighting, that's it, and that's something that we're going to touch on a little bit later as well, that we are. And what we see is about 5% of the candidates. In some cases, it's actually quite I think this is a little bit more conservative. I think it's less than that. People who sort of don't make the assessments, sort of they don't do their work, they're not on time, or they have some sort of issue, and then they fall out of this process as well. So, but from here on, now we need them to really succeed, because we've spent some time already to identify them to get to this point, and we sort of, our processes are in place to do this. I hope you guys can see this. Can you read it there?
No, Jaco, I think it's quite an important point. If you think how many people you go out and employ, and this process, they've got no skill, and we've got 95% certainty that they're actually going to be able to code well.
Yeah.
So that's, I know Jaco spent a lot of time taking you through the detail in which we've done, but also that the DVD rental system that they're building as they're being coached. There's a big piece, sorry, I don't know if you've got it in here.
The presentation itself, yeah.
But so each one of them are building a part of that rental system. So you've come out of school in a rural village. You've never even heard of a DVD maybe. So those guys have to integrate into a team, and they actually have to build a component. The rental system doesn't work if the whole team isn't working together. So at the end of the 3 months, that system has to actually operate, and they've got to present it. So
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Average, what amount of schooling have your candidates had?
Matric. So matric, which is a grade 12. I think it's equivalent to what's an O level, is it? Yes, high school. Yeah. No. We do find that a lot of college educated, that completed the training also applies for the internship, just given the high unemployment rate that we have. So that's also where we're able then to filter and rank them, but only later in the process. We only see that when you submit your CV. You're already through that process, so we know you have the aptitude, and then you can see, oh, you are a college graduate and stuff, and that's part of that discussion, is to understand why are you with us.
interesting stat actually for Salem Pritchard, who do the psychometric, third-party psychometric evaluations for us. They have a statistic that their top candidates are failed university people. How interesting is that? Their top programming candidates are failed.
And there could be a variety of reasons for that. It could be financial, so they can't afford it. It could be circumstances where they had to move out, do whatever, some personal, sort of having to take care of kids or whatever the case may be. So there's multiple reasons for that then as well.
I think also that learning from a book is tiresome for somebody who wants to get things done. So they're practical people, they want to do, they want to run code, they don't want to study.
Okay. So just in terms of our schedule, so just basically where it is. So the first, week 0 is intro. So this is where we sort of introduce you just to some of the progress, basic, sort of, and on the web available documentation. In some cases, our trainer actually forces them to write a test on the first day that they're there to see whether they've learned, whether they've prepared for this, and mostly they are. When we get to this point, people are quite keen to get involved, so they're well prepared. Then we start off, week 1 is sort of just the basics. You can see there's some of the stuff that we do, and this is typically basic OpenEdge ABL type of thing. Then week 2, we're starting to sort of come and say, cool, how does OpenEdge work in terms of our framework, also in terms of our old technology that we have. And if I say old, just some of the older web speed principles, sort of what we have and what we used, how do we do new stuff. And you can see then sort of the details that's there. But you can already see, that week 2 is introduction to training, the DVD store, the database, all of that then. So it becomes integrated there. And what is happening is each candidate builds their own DVD store. But they also have to work together to build this final product that Richard just mentioned now as well. So that teaches them also is, hey, I have to understand what you're doing because my stuff have to work with yours. I have to sort of follow sprints, tasks, integration, code merges, all of those things as well, which are practical things that we want our people to be able to do as well. Understand scoping. Then week 3, debugging. Week 4, you could see sort of there importing data, some log files. And again, there you could see the lab that's there. Week 5, sort of OO, that we do is how do you do all of your object orientation there, performance programming, not a lot. Tom, I can see you guys are here, we touch on it. We say it's possible, but we're not sort of going into the detail of that. So, I mean, there's people making a living out of that then as well. And then also we call it warp speed. It's actually web speed, but this is our own play on this. This is our UI and stuff, and also touches on some of the JavaScript and the stuff that we use. Then further down, some of the objects. I just want to touch on that. So each candidate got their own full laptop, issued there as well. Full local development environments, access to all our classes that's being recorded, all our documentation, tools, tips, and references. And quite a lot of people still uses this after the fact as well. As they would recognize a profiler, and then they would sort of go and then say, okay, cool, this is some information, we haven't dealt with this, or where can I get more resources there as well. So which is actually also quite a nice way of getting them up there as well. So interesting also is with COVID, where everybody started to work remotely, we actually help people to prepare their own home environments to be suitable to work remotely. So we had an issue in South Africa, it's finished now, but we had a thing that they called load shedding. We didn't have enough power. So which means that you had blackouts during the day, sort of like for 2 or 4 hours a day you won't have power. And we assisted from a company perspective for people to have UPSs, inverters and stuff running so that they can continue working with that. At the same time also supporting them with network connectivity and all of that as well. Luckily that's done for now, touch wood, but it could be back. But this was quite an interesting time in our lives, sort of to make sure that people are able to work from home wherever they are.
Very hard to be without electricity.
Yeah. And it's a strange concept, so this sort of load shedding thing. That's here. Cool. Then it continues. So you can see then, sort of we look at the HTML, the web. These are some of the technologies that we use. Service-oriented architecture to get those principles and designs in place. REMs and refs, which are specific to our digital engagement platform, which I think are customer user-defined fields and anyways, what the other one is. But these are some of the stuff that's specific to us. And then also you can see then in week 11, again, we train them on our digital stack that's used throughout our organization to prepare them. And then week 12 is sort of where they're starting to sort of, again, looking at our web speed, our front end, but then also starting to finalize their final project. So at the end of this 13-week course, they present then, before they present, each of our divisions has the opportunity to engage with this class. So where we typically go and we tell them who our clients are, what type of projects we're busy with, some of the nuances that's specific to that division, sort of to give them an overview, but also for those candidates to learn the rest of MIP. Otherwise, you just see your own little team and your own portion. Now you can engage. Typically, what we do is we take some of the interns that completed this along, so they could ask and they could answer questions to the new class, sort of for them to sort of start thinking where they're gonna land up and what's gonna end up there as well. Then whilst these candidates can have a preference, say for example they want to work in individual life and risk or in healthcare, our trainer, in conjunction with our HR and then within the teams, identify then that this person would be suitable for that team. And again, that's based on the experience, based on the type of work where we are, and then they sort of get assigned and allocated to those divisions. Because we know then the divisions are ready for them, and also that we believe that they would fit in that specific culture, or not culture, let's call it, I wouldn't even say subculture, but just in that project team and the dynamics that they have.
For example, in the last team, one of the candidates was a pharmacist, and we've got a healthcare unit, so it made sense. They had health experience, and put the pharmacist as an engineer into that software team.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
so we actually get benefit from
Yeah.
the skill set that they've got in terms of coding.
Yeah. And which is quite a highlight for the team as well. So is sort of this last day of their internship is where they present in this sort of application that they've developed. They present that into the Exco, and it's quite a celebration, because at that stage they would know that they've passed. They are going to continue, you know, and they're going to be placed into the divisions. And they put in quite a lot of effort to communicate and there as well. And we see people there now, 19-year-olds, never spoken before a team and audience, get the opportunity to sit in our formal boardroom, you know, big event, you know, very well coordinated, and they have to present in what they've done, you know, whether they did the returns of the DVD or whatever it's there. And it's quite a like a celebration for them. To be part of that then as well. And then it finishes. Well, sorry. Cool. Right, so now, so what happens then is now they finished. So now we expose them into our business. So they got now training and qualification, but we know that they're still young, or inexperienced rather. So what we do is they then get absorbed into these teams, and we show them some specific nuances of the system. So for example, how does collections work, payments, how do we do automatic bank details, and all of those things that's maybe specific to a process or whatever, so they get absorbed. But what we try and do is we try and assign them real tasks as soon as possible. So they're not sitting there and just doing research and reading and stuff. They either get involved in BAU support tasks, which forces them to learn the system and forces them to delve into the details, or they work on a project. And that's up to the team to try and see where they can use them the most effectively there as well. So what we have then is for this first 3 years is every task that they do are formally reviewed, where we comment and say you met expectations, didn't meet expectations, you know, sort of give feedback back to them, sort of to improve, to do this. And then also what we have is for the specific, these classes, we have 4 times a year. Yeah, it depends on the, every 3 months, a review of their salaries. So we have a scale, so as soon as people develop and start demonstrating that value that we've seen in them, we sort of reward them and recognize their contributions as well. It's not major increases, but you know, for a person that age to get a 3 or 4% increase every 3 or 4 months, I mean, that's a great way to start your salary in your career. And they recognize then that we appreciate their effort, and we can see where they go beyond and then what's expected there as well.
You know, so we actually have a table with an end goal of 3 years, and they must be on a salary that they could, a market-related salary at that 3-year period. So that's the actual objective of that whole process. We know the quality, they're on the right salary, there's no need to leave MIP to go somewhere else, because they are actually completely marketable now and valuable to the industry. So at that point, it's our objective, we want to retain this skill. Yeah.
So what we also do is we have sprint buddies. So a sprint buddy is somebody that's it's a formal assignment, and we mix it. Every sprint is different. So I'm working, for example, with Richard this sprint, trying to focus on my work. But I have Richard available to bounce ideas off, also to peer review some of my work as well. And again, that forces the team to come together, you know, sort of make sure that they're engaged, but also have somebody that can assist them. We also have mentors. So formal mentors is guys who are measured to say you're a mentor to that person, how does it work? But also naturally you get informal mentors. You know, some people are better trainers, coaches, teachers, more patient, and then they also then take on some of the interns there as well. And then the team leaders are also then responsible to nurture and then further support these candidates. So if anything changes or anything, then we sort of make sure that we try and identify it quite easily. We've got good programs from a mental health perspective, you know, that's available to them. We also had during COVID a physical health exercise, which was strange, where we had to do exercises, which helped. Not for me, but it helped. So it's something. So we also look at. Somebody has to work, Richard.
And some of us still do them.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, we got a every on a Tuesday and a Thursday we've got a what do you call it? Biokineticist who's online for the whole company, and they expect you to get off your chair. They use your chair and whatever your office equipment. Yeah,
But this-
what we must add is all 600 people work from home.
Yeah.
So our entire workforce is at home.
Yeah.
And they come in maybe once a month.
Yes. For a couple of
2
days, yeah.
So the objective is because we know some of these young people, they're not meeting socially and whatever. So to try and back up that thing with some physical exercise, some mental stimulation or help if they're feeling depressed or whatever the case. So really there's so many pieces to a program like this, especially with Gen Zs and all the new complexities that you have to deal with. It's yeah.
So for the new interns, we try and with the teams to get them into the office for the first 6 months. Again, sort of to make sure that they learn these habits, they start knowing each other, they have this networking, and then the support structures in place as well. So, and then we make sure we have assessment to say, yep, are you ready at home? Do you have a separate place where you could work from? Is it quiet? Is it conducive and productive as well? So we sort of have that balance in place as well.
Yeah, and I think what's also interesting from a South African perspective, you have a family of 8 people living in a 1-bedroom house. So there's these complexities that the new world has to look after. So it's actually delving right down. The HR people go right down to that level with the people to make sure that they're able to be productive when they're at home.
So whilst our program, we believe it's of high standard, and it's very specific to MIP, we also want to sort of have a formal accreditation to this as well. So we got institutions that are registered and qualified to provide these courses, and we then, in that first year, our interns then also follow this course so that they get a formal certification and qualification as well and say, cool, I got this degree or this diploma to move forward, which is recognized as well, which also again helps them to be exposed to other practices, other patterns there as well. It's not Progress specific, but it's more system development, system thinking capabilities there as well. Okay. And then after the completion, these interns have to stay with us for 3 years, sort of just to give back and then to sort of nurture there as well. So what we've achieved is, out of this 517, currently, and remember we started 16 years ago, we still got 388 of those are still with us, which is quite a, it's a 75%, I think, retention, if you think of 8 years ago where we are in terms of getting people into our environment. There's also then some of the, the people who aren't with us anymore, part of the internship, either has moved on, so they resigned and moved somewhere else. We also then, sort of have processes to make sure, obviously, as anybody else, is some performance management processes, making sure that people are there, and stay there as well. But we're quite happy with the success that we've achieved, to retain these people going forward there as well. Not a lot of people sort of in that 3 years. There's some, obviously we make quite a big financial commitment to you in terms of not only the time that we spend, but also the materials, the tests, the laptops, all of those things. And salary as well, yes, that we pay them. Remember, from the day one, they are salaried employees. And only 12 people in those 3 years have bought themselves out. And what this actually tells us is that the market demands these type of people. So because they're able to afford, now that they have a qualification, they've demonstrated themselves, we've given them the opportunity, they are able then to go somewhere else to do it. And I know some of them, I think the one was an engineer who went back into engineering. That's there. So it's not always Progress OpenEdge related reasons. Also some circumstances that have changed at home or whatever that necessitated this. But we're happy with the 388 and the 517 that's there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think also that the difference between those two numbers, we fed the Progress community in South Africa. So and you guys will know, even in your countries, an additional 200 people in your workforce is something that's not happening in countries right now. I think there's a reduction in overall resources, not an increase. We experiencing the opposite.
Yeah. So also and sort of. So now this is now some of the things that we can reflect on to say, what is it, where should we go with this internship? How do we take it forward, and how do we grow this even to get better and more qualified people into our environment, into South Africa, and maybe into Progress OpenEdge community there as well. So we already have processes, so long sentence. So what we already have is our senior developers, our tech orgs, I think it's once a year, come together and then they review and say, cool, the latest batch of interns, this is how they're doing. What are things that we need to improve on? What is it that we need to focus on, sort of to get them quicker, productive and effective into the team. So we already have that, that's there. We also get feedback from the interns, so which is quite insightful. All of them would say, yes, yeah, I had to pay more attention to indexes, debugging, during the intern classes. But we also get that feedback so that we can improve our training courses there as well. So what we're also doing is we are reviewing the weighting between, the theory and the practical marks, where we see that the actual performance of people who are practically strong is actually, we see benefits in that as well. And the reason for this is, as Bridget mentioned, that some people can learn the theory, but they can't apply it. Others just want to apply it, but they don't have the theory in the cowboy. So we're going to change a little bit our criteria, which was 50-50. I think we're going to go 80-20 or 70-30 now in terms of that weighting there as well. Also what we see, and specifically in our outsourced world where we provide resources, capability and competency to work on external systems, is we need to find that balance between what Progress OpenEdge skills are and what's MIP specifically. At this stage, obviously, it's geared for us, but we see benefit, and we may need to, sort of revise that a bit, is to say, cool, here's a basic Progress OpenEdge capability, but we want to, sort of supplement that further. Interesting also, some of the companies in South Africa approached us also is to get some of our interns. So we'll train them, and then they would work at our, cousin companies, not competitors really, I don't know. Same WhatsApp group. Yeah, it's there. Cool. What we can do as well, so obviously this is quite a process. So there's ways for us to automate, these processes. So for example, this in-person ID writing, I mean, there's value in seeing a person, starting them to introduce them to MIP. But we can take, I think, only 12 a day in the Joburg office and 12 a day in Cape Town office. Just space, time, all of that as well. We could potentially automate that, sort of get online ID verification, which is part of our systems, get that going, get the session, in terms of the test that's there. We can also, again, realign our internship course with the latest Progress training material that's available. We try and keep it updated, but that's, our perspective. But I think there's benefit, something to explore to try and get that free Progress certification going, well, not free, but the certification going out there as well. Again, also what we can do that we're looking at is to say we should maybe have a class specifically for our individual life and risk, because there are terms in terms of, maturity, benefits and yields and all those things that's maybe not relevant to a healthcare administrator. So we could tailor that content for those ones as well, if we identify earlier where they should reach on there as well. But having to trade that off with multi-skilling, giving a broad-based background as well. So we're looking at that as well. One of the things also that we've seen is some of the older people, not only the guys coming through the intern class, but we need to maybe add a refresher course. So we know new features coming out, new ways of development, and these guys are still coming from OpenEdge 10.2b, even some of them older there. It's sort of to train them on the latest stuff as well, so to offer refresher courses. And then also what we've done also is we started to expand this also now for other roles in our software development lifecycle. So our CSMs, Scrum Masters, or our test engineers and our BAs here at the bottom also is to try and follow the same process, sort of to get to know our methodologies and stuff. So that's still in the infant stages, but it's something that we are considering going forward. Right, and that's it. So any further questions? And for timekeeping? I am a project manager. Any further questions, comments, anything?
I just want to make a comment. I think it's not a 3-month internship. It needs to be understood that we're trying to cure somebody who's going to work for us forever. So the minimum is really 3 years, is really what I want to say. And we skill these people really to be part of our company. And the criteria that the human resources go through is to find the right ethos in a person to be in our business and to deliver for us and our clients. That's the most important.
Yeah, and I also think optimum value add to MIP is after 2 years. That's when the average optimum. So we've got youngsters who within 8 months are flying, which is fine, but we obviously work on the average. And if you think 2 years, so the 3 year gives us a guaranteed year of really good performance in the teams, and then it's up to us to try and retain from a market perspective.
And I think Richard has covered something there. When we identify a super candidate, we call them fast track candidates. So we actually fast track them through the training and into the divisions as quick as possible. Because you get that talent, and we use that.
Yeah, you can actually pick it up within a month in the team.
Yeah.
And then because we've recorded the sessions, we give them the option to fall out of the team and actually go and fast track. And I think maybe one person didn't do well.
All of them.
Yeah, so literally, that's how good it's become. But there's only one person that we made a bit of a mistake, but they're still working, but they couldn't stay on the course.
So maybe just a conclusion. So we mentioned at the start, we got more than 500 Progress OpenEdge developers. And of those, 300 came through our internship. So that also, I mean, MIP has been existing now 35 years, 36 years, is it, Richard? Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah. So you can see they're part of our business and they're adding value to our company and to our clients. So we know this works. And this is something that potentially could be replicated, could be leveraged on as well. But it works for us. Cool. Thank you.